order. It's 6:34. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, there's Terry. Hi, Terry. Public forum.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. Mr. John Wilson. Hi, John.
Hello, folks. Let me get this thing off so you can hear me. Just very briefly, is that better? I sound like a frog. I just wanted to note that in our agenda tonight, I see that an agreement has been reached with the Taconic Hills support staff, which I congratulate you on. And as you know, the Administrators Association is approaching 2 years without a new agreement. I would like to invite us back to the table, and I believe we can get this done. I am closing out my tenure, as you know, as an administrator here, and as the president of the Taconic Hills Administrators Association. It would make me very happy to close this down and settle an agreement with you. So whatever we can do, let's do it, and if possible, let's do it soon.
I like that idea too.
Excellent, thank you, Bonnie. Yep.
So next we have Shayna Smith. Hey, Shayna.
Hi guys, how is everyone? Alright, so good evening. First, I would like to introduce myself as the new Taconic Hills Faculty Association President. I would like to thank Kevin Reese for his leadership throughout the past 2 years, which has proven to be quite challenging due to COVID, as it's been for many people who are in leadership positions. I am a K-12 art teacher who has been with the district since 2011. I look forward to updating the board with the many wonderful projects and successes of my colleagues, as well as the concerns of the THFA. I am hopeful that the transition will be smooth and I will continue to work hard to build productive relationships between the board and the Faculty Association. With Teacher Appreciation Week approaching the first week of May, I would like to take the time to publicly thank all of my colleagues for their hard work and dedication during such a challenging year. We have some treats planned for them on behalf of the Executive Board, and I feel a simple thank you in a public forum would speak volumes to many of them. Speaking of hard work and dedication, I would like to thank Mrs. Byrne, Mrs. Barrett, and the high school's Student Council for all of their hard work organizing and running a third Red Cross blood drive this weekend at Taconic Hills. They got over 50 pints of blood this weekend, and Ms. Byrne said that I believe it was a $750 scholarship that will be awarded to those students as a result of their work.
How many pints?
She said 50. Our school nurse, Kathy Kaiser, recently made a donation to the New York State Police K-9 program via the Elementary Student Council can collection drive. She also recently received the G. Lucius Carey Annual Service Leadership Award from Questar, which recognized her community service in Columbia County, which she is very proud of, and as she should be. Also, I would like to recognize the faculty, especially Mrs. Flores, Mr. Proper, and Mrs. Riffenberg, for all of their time and dedication to the Learning Fair. We look forward to seeing what the students have created for the Learning Fair during the week of May 14th. They will be sending a link out for the community in order to see it, since in normal circumstances, families would come in and see what they created, but due to COVID restrictions, we can't. In closing, I look forward to working with the board in support of our students. Feel free to reach out to the Taconic Hills Faculty Association Executive Board members and myself if you have any questions or concerns, and thank you again for your time and continued support.
Thanks, Shannon. Congratulations.
Thanks. Somebody else have?
Yes, we have Sussman.
Hi, good evening, everyone. For the last few months, I've been attending meetings virtually, but this month's meeting has some very, very important presentations, and I wanted to be here personally for the final budget update and for the summer programming. The agenda states that people who cannot be here in person can participate live stream via Twitch, but as of 6 o'clock this evening, the link to the live stream was nowhere on the website. It was not on the homepage, it was not on the calendar, nor was it on the Board of Education drop-down meeting agenda. So I'm disappointed that other members of the public don't have an opportunity to view this meeting virtually. It's a very important meeting for the public to be present at. So that's my comment for this evening. I do hope that in the future the website will be attended to so that the community can participate on a regular basis.
So I've been informed that Twitch is now live. It was added right before the meeting on our.
So why should it be this?
So it's the same address all the time.
Was there a technical problem?
Superintendent Howard.
Well, I would hopefully that they would look at it and be able to tell it's the same.
But
But
it's
you're
not
right.
on the website.
Yeah, it's currently on the website. So it was,
Shortly before the meeting?
yes.
How can people plan? You know, people who want to be part of this community.
Well, we would hope that they would go to the website to check it and
I
then
did.
click on it.
I did. As of 6 o'clock, I was on the website and it wasn't there.
Okay, so I apologize. It's up right now.
Okay, that concludes the public session.
We make some policy when we would make business available.
Yeah, we're still waiting on policy meetings, so sure, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, I need an acceptance of the agenda. I need a motion, please. Motion? Alicia, second? Heidi, any questions? All in favor? Okay, thank you. We need acceptance of the consensus agenda. Can I have a motion, please? Joe, second? Alicia? Go through that quickly. There seems to be a whole bunch of resignations. We have our district election and vote inspectors. Probationary cleaner. Restorative practice leadership committee. Some coaches and the substitute. Any questions on the consensus agenda?
Are these positions where people are being killed or retreating staff?
Which ones are you referring to?
Well, there's a set of resignations.
Yeah, the
Teacher's
resignation.
aide, part-time cleaner, substitutes.
So it's based upon need, so we're still evaluating the need. In general, substitutes come and go, part-time cleaners come and go. Teachers able typically replace if there's a need for it. That's what we do. So I can say that I believe that we are replacing these two.
Thank you.
I have a question on the election and voting inspectors. I don't see on this agenda, and they may have missed it, but I know that Ron was appointed the chair of the annual election. Is Ron going to be able to be here?
Ron, are you going to be able to be here as the chairperson for the election? In May? What day of May is that? 18? Okay. So, I mean, we would have another, I mean, if we don't think that you're going to be able to make it, we'd have to pick another chairperson too. So we'd but you have a month, right?
I want it there.
I know you do. I know you want out of your house. I know. I get you.
I guess I brought it up because I know that he's still in the cast, and I just don't know
Yeah.
when
He
he'll
goes to
be
the doctor on the 28th of April.
available. Also, there's a good likelihood. Thank you.
Yep. Any more questions?
I was just trying to ask how the probationary cleaner was chosen. Was there
Yeah, this is part of the consensus agenda.
So probation, he was a substitute for us, he did an excellent job, and we got a recommendation from the department supervisor to offer him the position.
Good? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. All right, presentations, the final budget update, Dr. Neil Howard and Sybil Howard.
Okay, so as of the last workshop, that was the same day that the governor's budget was put together, and we got notification. There have been a few changes. You heard about some of those, and we're going to give you a final recommendation this evening. Okay?
Can you hear Ron?
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Ron, it's Sybil. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. So I wanted to start here. There were a few board members who were not able to attend the last budget workshop on April 7th. And as Neil indicated, our world was kind of turned upside down that morning with the new information about state aid. So I just want to remind everybody that the net impact for Taconic Hills for the 2021-22 school year is that we will see an increase of about $282,000 in state aid. So it really caused us to pivot in our thinking a little bit in terms of our revenues for next year. And so that is primarily what we discussed on April 7th. Neil, you can go down to the next slide. Wanted to update you on some final numbers on the budget initiatives. The two items in red represent final quotes for those two projects for next year. We just received the final quote for the elementary library furniture, which was a little bit higher than the number we had plugged in there on April 7th. And then the final budget amount for the safety and security project, the classroom door access controls, came in lower than we were projecting. So as I indicated on the 7th, things were still a little bit fluid. I was very much still in the process of incorporating the terms of the settlement for the support staff in terms of the salary and benefit changes that needed to be made between the 2019-20 school year, across the 2020-21 school year, and then into next year. So that process takes some time. Yes, please. So our final projected budget increase is about $843,206, a 2.21% increase over last year. That increase is largely represented by both the terms of the support staff settlement and some of our budget initiatives that were new to this year. Originally, as we were moving through the budget process, we were looking at the 1.59% tax levy increase level as the needed revenue for us in order to balance our budget next year. But because of that new state aid, that new influx of state aid for next year of just under $282,000, we're really at a point where we could consider, as we discussed on April 7th, a 0% or 0.62% tax levy increase solely because of what that state aid represents for Taconic Hills. I firmly believe that that is a one-shot deal. I took a lot of time to unpack all of those numbers after April 7th and consulted with state aid planning. And because Taconic Hills, in some respects, already receives more than the state thinks that we should receive in foundation aid, I believe this is a proverbial shot in the arm for 21-22 for Taconic Hills, but I do not believe that we will see another increase in 22-23. So we will be in a position where we'll be looking to move off of those lower levy amounts for the 22-23 school year if the need arises. As Mr. Gulisane indicated, we have an administrator's contract to settle, and we will be starting with the Faculty Association on April 28th. So those figures are also extremely preliminary at this time. We go up to the next slide. So as we looked at a comparison between 0% and 1.59 last month, I wanted us to look at a comparison between 0% and 0.62%. As you can see, we could use the revenue at the 0.62 amount in order to mitigate the need to appropriate additional fund balance to balance the budget. But it is the board's, at the board's discretion to do that. At both levels, we will use a portion of appropriated fund balance as planned to pay for the 2 new full-size buses and to pay for a portion of debt service on the 2018 capital project that was bonded last year. As we indicated to taxpayers, the financing of that would be zero tax impact. So there's a piece of that coming out of savings, which we have been planning since 2018. So both options, if you could scroll up just a little bit, sorry, down, yes. Both options give the district a carryover provision into 2022, 2023, and the numbers are listed. And obviously that's a product of a formula that is based on factors that we don't find out until 22, 23. But right now, those are the projections, and my numbers equal both SED and OSC. So I'm pretty confident about those two numbers, but in the event that we moved forward into next year and CPI was not 2%, but lower, we could utilize some of this carryover money, some of it, all of it, none of it, but it is one and done, use it or lose it in the subsequent year. So it is the board's choice to decide at which point you would like to go. Go back up another slide, please. But I would like to reiterate that I'm always an advocate of building the tax levy every year incrementally because of what that does for us in terms of revenue building in later years. However, solely because of the additional New York State aid that we will receive next year, we are at a point this year where we could consider 0 or 0.62%.
You ready for questions on that, or?
Sure.
So, Neil, you had done a projection at a previous meeting showing a declining student body over a period of time. So, do you anticipate that we will have that in the next coming year? And if so, through attrition, we'll be reducing some staff that may not be taken into account in this budget?
It's a difficult question. We we are decreasing in size, but it seems like our students' needs are increasing. So we have to balance affairs against the needs of the students. So we are looking very closely at that. At this time, I do not see a reduction in staff.
There's an asterisk there because of the additional federal funding that we're getting as a grant that's not considered state aid that we discussed last month, the CARES 2 funding and the American Rescue Plan funding. There will be a number of positions that will be funded in 22, 23, and beyond. We'll call them semi-permanent positions, directly related to COVID-related regression, if you will.
Learning loss is the term.
I was trying not to use a word that you don't.
Yeah, we don't like that.
So is that, are you saying that those federal funding will provide for certain staff salaries?
Yeah, but we're
in
looking.
22 and
Yeah,
23
we're
and
still
beyond?
evaluating it, but, you know, they're one-year positions because the CARES Act is only 1 year.
Yes.
But we are looking to try to catch up. And so without affecting the general fund, we are going to use this money, and I will be coming to you to probably hire a few more people on a term basis to address academic and mental health needs.
Do you think there was some discussion about the number of principals, assistant principals, and so on, how that impacts the budget? Given the particular salaries of the particular people and so on.
So there is a plan for that. I guess I could just come out and say it. Right now, the plan is John is retiring. Mary will be moving to the elementary principal. Darby DeLea will go being the assistant in the elementary, and we will be looking for an assistant principal for the junior senior high to work with Mr. Burmester.
And those permutations aren't that included in the budget.
So it's
So
a
taking into account Mr. Wilson's salary and the new person's salary, that's all been. Okay, thank you.
Could you go back to the slide that was doing the comparison of I just want to make sure I understand this. Both of these, a 0% or a 0.62, provide no changes in the budget. That all things that we're planning for are covered, fully covered. And the only difference is really what is the allowable.
That's correct. The deficit that's represented by the red shaded cells would be absorbed by appropriated fund balance.
Okay, so for the carryover, the difference between one versus the other, it's essentially the same amount of money, except in the first option, the entire amount can be carried over. And in the second option, a portion of that entire amount
Right, it's the difference.
would be actually levied this year.
Correct,
So they basically add up to the same thing.
correct.
all right. So I guess you can percolate on that for a little bit. And
At the end of the meeting, we will need to choose a levy limit and vote on the budget amount as well.
So are we ready to, you guys want to think about it while we see our summer programming presentation and then come back to that and talk about it, or do you want to just throw it on the table now? What do you want to do?
How many options are we considering?
Sybil's given us, if you saw the presentation, there were 3 up there, and plus we have the 0 on the table, which wasn't part of that.
Well, there's actually
Well, the last one would, that's not.
Right, there are 5 options. There's like an A and then a alternative.
Right. All right. Who's gonna start? I already told you I'm talking last. Ron, you wanna go?
Yeah, well,
Go ahead. Wait, hang on. All right, go ahead.
good evening, everybody.
I don't think it's picking it up.
No.
Taking care of the kids today. It's about our obligation to future generations of people. And I feel that over the past, I say over a decade now, we've been doing great stewardship of civil Howard, Dr. Howard. We've been able to do every program, every anything that can benefit the teachers and the students, we've done. And that's because we've been judicious in how we tax our community. Whereas you see other school districts sometimes suffer because they don't do it judiciously. I do believe that we have an obligation to those. Look, the money that we're talking about now is probably going to impact today as it will tomorrow. And we need to be vigilant about understanding that it's not just about the group of kids here now, it's about those that are going to come after us. If we stop and don't allow the compounding to occur, it's just going to raise, at some point, a difficult period for those in the future. At some point, it's going to happen anyway, but at least by being fair and doing a fair tax assessment, that we can at least assure that we can go as far as possible in the future. That's basically what I have to say.
So where are you at then, Ron? What tax levy percentage are you at?
Well,
I know I hate to ask you this question because I know where you are. Go ahead.
I've always proposed whatever the max you could get.
So you're saying 1.59?
Excuse me?
You're saying 1. Yeah, but that's if we go to don't we need a super majority for that one?
We would not, no.
Oh, so you're saying 1.92?
Well, I think probably wishes for horses. But I understand that, this is a difficult period. But I do think whatever moves the ball forward, whatever pushes that rock up the hill a little further is what I'm in favor of.
So 0.62?
That would work for me. I just think if you do zero, that just sets it back somewhere down the line.
Okay. Well, I needed to see where you're at. So you're at 0.62. Okay.
Is it 0.62?
Yeah.
I thought he said the maximum.
Well, he's always at the maximum. That's why I was kind of making a little bit of a joke about that. But he's willing to, come down this year.
That's surprising.
All right. Who's up next?
I'll go next.
All right, Terry, go ahead.
Last week I attended the budget meeting that was held by NISBA, and I sent around the emails late this afternoon, so people got a chance to look at them or not. And one thing that struck me, and one of the first comments that they had made, was that we're getting all this extra money now, but there's a very good chance that it can all be taken away. We'll probably get it this year, as it has happened in the past where they did, remove these, the foundation aid. So, just knowing the history of, government in New York, we have to consider that, this is like, a honeymoon period, and it could just all end next year. That being said, when I started on the board, and it's always been my philosophy, is you don't raise taxes. I've changed considerably in my thinking between town government and school government, and knowing what we know that they'll reimburse us based upon what our tax structure is for this year. So if we put, next year, they'll reimburse us. So if we go for the lower two numbers, then we'll be, charged, that will be charged against us for next year. My thinking is, and I agree with Ron, as far as, providing for future situations and the kids for the future and thinking about the future. My thinking is to go someplace in the middle of those numbers. So I would probably be closer to the 1.27%.
Can I add something?
Sure, Ron, go ahead.
I just want you to understood that I will go with what the voice of the board said.
I know you will.
I just don't want to assume that I just want point. I just want it so that's understood that I just want something that moves the ball forward.
Okay. Duly noted. All right, who's up next? Alicia?
After listening to Sybil's
Could you move
report,
the microphone over?
I completely respect what Ron and Terry have said, but after listening to Terry's report, or Sybil's report, and because of the state aid, this one-time state aid, I'm in favor of the 0%. I feel like this is the year that we can give the taxpayers a break, and so that's going with the 0%.
I'm gonna go on the side of the table. Dave, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Probably without the microphone, sure. I think we're really kind of in a unique situation. And I understand the reticence in terms of, past experience with the state and the budget. My understanding is the foundation aid, the commitment was for 3 years at the increased level. I was reading that earlier today, I believe. And we're in a unique position. We went into this year anticipating that it was going to be disastrous financially. And it was a really difficult year all around. Everybody here can attest to that. But financially for the school district, we did not face that fear that we're always something is going to happen in the future that we have to be prepared for. Not only were we prepared for it, but it ended up being much less than we anticipated. We ended up having money that had been budgeted and not spent, and we're in a unique position where we have a budget that not only meets all of the instructional needs, not only does it do that, but it includes some significant projects. The school bus security is one of them, which on its own is close to $500,000. For a budget to be able to go forward with those types of very large, there were 2 of them there. 427, and the library furniture 53. Those are 2 that you were pointing out, Sybil?
Yes.
So $475,000, about $500,000 already able to include that without any reduction in anything. I think we're in a unique position to do a budget that takes into account the needs of the taxpayer, that takes into account all of the needs of the school district, not just instructional, which is paramount, but these other non-instructional issues without raising the taxes. That's like miraculous. And I think for a board, we have this opportunity to send to the community, hey, we understand it. Everybody has taken a hit this year, and we fortunately were in a position, not only did we weather it, but we sailed through that storm financially and came out the other side still ahead. So I can't overemphasize, I really think we need to just go, bite the bullet, go for a 0%. Any of the carryover that is always talked about, we're leaving something on the table, is always a discussion. Any of the carryover could be carried over if it needed to. A portion of it, some of it, all of it. So we're not losing that ability. It's not like we're saying, well, we're not going to have carryover. So I think we really ought to consider very strongly. I support going with a 0% increase, which I think addresses all of the needs, instructionally, fiscally, responsibly, and for the taxpayers.
There's a reason why we've been able to do that. It's because we do tax. Listen, I understand the 0%. I go to the, well, I don't know, but I go to the supermarket and it's more expensive to buy food every day. But the reason why we're able to do this is because what we have done. And we're not addressing what's going to happen in the future. It's just a philosophy of mine. I believe we take care of those that are coming, generations that are coming. And if we decide not to do that, at some point, if we keep kicking the can down the road, at some point, somewhere down the line, they're not going to have the programs available to them because we won't be able to afford it. That's my fear. So, but I understand why people want to. I get that. Who wants to pay more tax? I'm just saying, the forest for the tree. That's all.
Ron, I want to hear, I do understand that. I hear that very strongly, and the motivation of fear is something to consider. However, this year was that perfect storm that people were looking at, and we read all over the state and across the country school districts that have been devastated. And yet, we are in a position where we entered that and actually came out even financially stronger than we had been. So the notion of year after year after year saying we have to plan for that worst case scenario, we did, and we still came out ahead. So while I hear that, I think there's a time where you have to say, hey, we're in good shape, and we don't need to do that. We don't have to act out of fear. We're able to act very prudently based upon sound financial management, take advantage of it, do all these great things. I mean, you know, the fact that we can, once again, do almost $500,000 of non-instructional items without even it being a blip in the budget is astronomical. If you were to take those special things out, the budget could be a negative. I'm not suggesting that, I'm just saying that we have a budget that more than addresses all of the needs, including these extraordinary additional expenses.
Right, that's correct. I agree with that. But the reason why is because we did tax. We had consistently taxed below the 2% threshold that we were allowed. So to be consistent with that going forward, if you might say that now, you don't know what's going to happen next year. We don't even know if this thing is over with. And who knows how government's going to handle how things coming up in the future. I mean, if you're talking about, I mean, whoever thought about a pandemic before the next year? I mean, what if it's another one that comes? What if something even worse? I'm just saying, you know, better to take a little out of the pocket now than take a lot later.
Okay.
The only thing I would like to address, Dave, is you talked about the phase-in over a 3-year period of foundation aid, and that is true for districts that are more distraught than Taconic Hills.
More
Distraught, financially distraught. So what I was able to unpack after receiving the new information on April 7th was that truly what we are receiving this year is a gift, and due to our what is called a sparsity factor, because our district is so big, the SED acknowledges that it's difficult for us
This is a one-shot deal.
One time.
I mean,
It's
additionally,
not going away, that's correct.
but the foundation aid is not going away, but it wouldn't be that they'd be adding more to what we already get.
That's correct.
So we'd be entering next year pretty much with foundation aid in the same place we are this year.
If, to Ron's point, the state is able to continue to use the federal funds that they receive
Right.
to
Mhm.
balance their budget. So that is not known that, you know.
It's always the unknown, like,
Right.
the gap money we're all supposed to get back that we're still waiting for, aren't we?
Correct.
Yeah,
So even though.
I get that
still
you
waiting.
can't count on what might happen next year.
I mean, there is actually a formula, and I did it for a couple of other schools just so I could see what it looks like. There is a formula where schools can figure out what they will receive in 22-23 and in 23-24. Applying that same formula to what we are receiving for Taconic Hills is zero in 22-23 and 23-24.
Zero additional.
Yes.
So
So
it
this
doesn't
is a
mean
gift.
we're not going to be losing, we're going to be entering in the same spot that we are.
I hope so.
Right.
I hope so, but I can't say that with certainty.
I understand.
That's what they're saying today, 420 at 7:16.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure everyone's
Okay.
clear.
All right, Joe, you're next.
Things one year at a time,
I agree pretty much what everyone's saying, but, like Ron says, push the rock up the hill a little bit. I would rather take little nibbles than down the road have to take a big bite. So, I'll just cut it short and I'm for the 6-2.
Okay. Craig, you're up.
Last year, when we were sitting in the boardroom having this discussion, we were talking about, I forget what the budget increase was, about $300,000 budget increase. And because we had a set of educational initiatives that we wanted to cover, we also had a significant amount of money in reserves, and the plan at that time was a commitment to the community that if we saw a big cut from the state, that we would cover that with our reserves. That was the discussion we had a year ago. Because we had those reserves. That cut never came. We didn't have to spend that money. And because of the unusual situation of the school being closed, we didn't have to spend money, and we increased our reserves by an additional $2.8 million. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen again, right, because we're not closing down the school, thank God. But we increased our reserves by an additional $2.8 million, and I believe the year before, we also had a small surplus. I don't remember the number, but it was something in the $100,000 to $300,000 range. I don't remember the numbers.
I don't recall.
But it's approximately, that's, okay. So, over the last 2 years that I've been on the board, our reserves have gone up $3 million. And as Dave has articulated, you know, that was the big crisis. And not only did we not have to dig into our reserves, but we actually grew it dramatically. So we've got much more buffer going into next year as than we did the previous year. I also believe that the population will continue to decline. When I first came into this school district about 20 years ago, I think the population was about 1,900 kids or so. I don't remember the exact numbers, but
Building open.
about that, okay. And we're down to about 12, and we're anticipating, or Dr. Howard's anticipating we'll be down to about 1,000 some years ahead. We don't know what's going to happen this year coming, but just looking at the dynamics. So I feel like that's an additional safety valve. As the population reduces, the staff will also reduce. So with those factors, I'd like to have zero.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Heidi?
I am definitely on the fence, and I think
Could
this
you
is a
move the
very,
microphone
sorry. I am definitely on the fence, and I think this is a very rare opportunity for us. I think that it's amazing that we have this state aid, and that we'll probably never get it again. So I think this is, I'm gonna say 0, because I think it's a one and only time that we can offer this to our taxpayers.
Okay, thanks. Linda?
Because I see we can meet our budget with either 0 or 0.62. Sorry, forgot my
It's
glasses.
okay.
I would be very happy with 0, and I see no reason to do anything else. It's a miracle that Sybil's been able to meet the budget with 0. So I'm pleased to see 0.
Okay, so that leaves me. So I've been on the fence about this because I've talked to several of you. I've talked to Sybil lots of times. So, you know, Ron, I always usually side with you, right? In this case, so listen, this is where I'm at. I really believe that this is a gift this year. And I know that you have doubts whether we'll receive that money or not, and those doubts are warranted based on the past. I get you. But I also am going to have to say 0.
Listen, I understand. I respect everybody's opinion. I just, to me, you know, we're somewhere down the road.
I know.
We're going to regret that.
You can say I told you so.
Don't worry.
Oh, I know you will.
I'll be 112 and I'll come into a meeting and say, hey, I told you.
Remember 2020?
And you will have every right to do so. Okay, so it looks like we have decided.
So can we just talk about 2 other quick?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
So also at your place, you have a document that is multicolored. This is the annual exercise that we do where we look at the potential tax impact of each levy.
This one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, the 21-22 equalization and assessment rates have not been set yet. They are not set by New York State until after July 1, which is when the towns need to have their tax rolls finalized. Many of you may know that Claverick is in the process of a complete revaluation. So in the 2021 year, they were at 88%, which means that assessments were undervalued.
Yeah, I got my notice.
Okay, so if you live in the town of Claverick, you may receive your notice, and they're moving to 100% valuation. So this exercise takes a look at what someone may pay at the various. This exercise takes a look at what someone may pay at the various tax levy rates if they own a home that is valued at $100,000, $200,000, or $300,000. But you'll notice that I colored the 0% columns in red because we're applying the current year equalization and assessment rates to this exercise. So with that valuation that's occurring in the town of Claverick, even if, and I know many of you who have been on the board for a long time know, and who have been here when we have levied a 0% tax levy increase, it is much more to do with those equalization and assessment rates than it is what we decide to do here tonight. And so school taxes could very well go up for people even if we levy a 0% tax levy. So just want to be sure everyone is very clear about that as you go back out into the community and speak with folks.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
So if Claverick taxes go up because of reassessment, do other towns' taxes then go down to balance, so it's a zero-sum game?
It depends, and that's part of what the state does with balancing those rates. So
The answer is it could. Well, I have a question because in Claverick, many people have been surprised that their assessed values have gone up 50, 60, 75. Some people have told me My understanding is that the rate per thousand for the town of Clobber is based on the total assessed value of all the properties. And that, like, we're not looking at, if you're looking at someone with a $100,000 home paying $1,300 now, if their home went up to $200,000, it's not that it would go up necessarily to double what it is.
You're right, yes.
Because it's proportional.
Correct.
And so, I guess when it's all said and done, depending how much people's assessment have gone up, what percentage of the whole and all that, they may see their share going up or down.
Yes, exactly. And we've seen that over the years where numbers have gone down, actually, in certain municipalities, so.
Well, then that's only for those people who are helping me drill.
Right.
over.
So, but we won't have that data to share with you, as you know, until about mid-August.
Well, I remember a couple of years back, Copake was reassessed.
Yes.
And oh my God, they
Yes.
were just, those people were losing their minds.
Yes.
And so their taxes went, their school taxes jumped, and while some of ours went down. So,
Right.
yeah, I remember that. That was like 3 years.
And you'll remember we actually ended up creating additional tax certiorari reserves after that because so many people grieved their taxes in the town of Copake.
But I guess I also
Get that
don't
profit
quite
as well.
understand this. How does each town get a portion, their share of the school taxes?
That is a little bit outside my lane, Dave, but we do receive the calculations, so it is something that Eileen and I look at. But as far as the how, I don't know.
Oh, so that's done at the state level?
Correct.
The state says they're either dividing it by the student population from that town?
No, they're receiving the tax roll data from the individual towns
Okay.
and putting that together. Remember, we not only have,
Maybe I'm not asking it correctly. Do you have a formula that says our $38 million budget gets divided this way? Copake gets this percentage of it, Clobber gets this percentage, Ancrum, et cetera.
it's a little bit backwards because what happens is we are provided with the total taxable and assessed value for each town and the rates. We apply those and make sure that, once that formula kicks in and distributes everything, that it ends up meeting our warrant amount. So it kind of backs into the warrant amount. But that's part of what we end up sharing with you in August, and maybe this year we could go a little deeper into what those calculations look like.
Yeah, I think, because it would be important for us to know, because I think a lot of people will have lots of questions.
Yes.
to us.
Can I just say something? Are you finished? I'm sorry. Are you finished?
Yes.
So Copake has gone through the whole process, and I live in Copake. So I was just looking at the numbers that you gave us, and I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. So take the middle of the roadhouse, that's $200,000. I sort of like the middle. So the tax amount paid was $2,204 and 51 cents. With a 0%, it would remain the same, right?
Conceivably, yes.
With a 0.62%, it's $12 more
Mhm.
for the year.
Mhm.
It's $12 more, so that's an extra $1 a month. That's with 0.62, which it all sounds very noble, but when you look at the numbers, and with what I had suggested, which was a 1.27, it's a $14 increase. So instead of an extra $1 a month, it's $1 and change a month. So that's what the actual numbers are.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yes.
For the average house.
Yes.
And, living in Copake, I'll say, that some of the houses are, 120,000 up to, I think there's $1 million houses in Copake too. But the average person would be basically raising their taxes by $1 a month if you do the 0.62.
All other things equal, yes.
And $14 a month if you do what I suggested.
Yes.
Which is the 1.27. So that just kind of puts it, in perspective.
Yes.
As far as what you're taking out of your wallet.
Had this conversation.
That's not even a good bottle of wine in 14 hours.
And I had this conversation with Joe about what happens when the towns add more exemptions into their tax rolls or have grant, tax exemptions on commercial properties. All that does is just transfer the tax burden to the regular person in that community, right? It just redistributes that tax burden. So that isn't even taken into consideration in this exercise. It's really simple, just a way to visualize what it might look like at each level. But those, we really don't see the impact of any of those town-specific activities until we see those numbers in August. And then the only other thing, you have a large document at your place, and this represents the property tax report card that you'll be approving first in letter Q. I prepared two tonight because I wasn't sure where we would go. The front page is at 0% up on the top in red. There's a title, and then on the back page, that will be the document that when you vote on that resolution, that'll be the document you are approving, and that will be posted on the website and submitted at 8 a.m. tomorrow to SED. So this document simply declares what the budget amount is, what the tax levy will be, and of course at 0% it's the same as the prior year, so taxpayers can see that. I do find this document a little bit hard to understand for the layperson. And then it also lists the current year consumer price index, and our reserve details are at the bottom, which we talk about throughout the year. They are posted on our website. We're very transparent about those numbers. And you'll notice that the estimated unrestricted fund balance assumes that the $5 million capital reserve gets approved by the voters, because that would come out just as we complete the end of the year financials.
Did the board vote to create the $5 million capital reserve?
You did not vote, so what we did is discussed moving forward with adding the proposition for the voters to consider. Tonight you would be voting on whether or not we add that proposition. And that's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then you'll give me those numbers for later, right?
Yep.
All right, moving on to summer 2021 summer program. Dr. Sandra Gardner.
Well, Bonnie, do we want to just move ahead and jump into that, the budget, the document?
We'll just follow through like we're gonna. She's gonna put the numbers in there for me.
Okay, hold on.
I just wanted to discuss it.
No, I understand. I wasn't thinking about that.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, Sandra.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start our presentation off on summer learning, and the other administrators will just pop in as I miss a few things and want to add in. So this is the scoop on summer learning. We are looking for a very strong program for this summer. Last year we had quite an effective program. But it was virtual, and this year we are looking to have it completely on campus. And as in the past, we will hire a summer school coordinator to help us make sure that everything is coordinated and all the P's and Q's are going the right way, as we say in elementary world. Transportation will be provided, and Rick will be working with us right up until the last minute, I'm sure on that, but we are going to try to get it to him as early as possible. The hours are going to be 8 to 12 for students, and for the teachers, they will come in at 7:30 and leave at 12:30. That allows them to have a little bit of time for parent contact. planning and preparing for the next day ahead. And the dates are July 12th through August 12th. It's a Monday through Thursday program, working on a 4-day week instead of a 5-day week in the summer. We're going to provide, thanks to Pam, daily breakfast and a light lunch, so they'll have the chance for 2 meals. Across all the programs, we'll have a nurse on staff, so nursing services will be available. And also library services, nursing services will be daily throughout the time period. Library services usually work out to be once a week. In addition to that, we're going to have TESOL teachers on staff to service our L students that need services. And also we have 3 social workers with summer hours, and they will be working to support all the students in all the programs with social and emotional needs, and support the families at home still too. So we have multiple programs planned. We have some names for them. I'm not sure that we're completely set on the names. We're looking for creativity, but this is what we have right now, Summer Scoopers. And that's going to be the elementary program. And the thought process behind the names is really to not say learning regression, but to say we're going to fill in gaps and we're going to scoop everybody up and move forward. So we're really trying to take that positive approach, coming on very strong with Titan Pride for the Rolling Thunder middle level academic program. And then the Summer Bridges, we ran 2 years ago. I think I've talked to you in the past about the data from that program, as well as the Summer Academy. We have run that in the past, and that's credit recovery for high school. So the next thing we're going to talk about is a little more detail over each of the programs. So the elementary program is going to be for students incoming grades 1 through 7. And the objective of that program is to provide intensive, targeted intervention to improve literacy and mathematical skills of students who are not currently meeting grade level standards, so that students are successful in the next grade level. So we're really looking at analyzing each student's need and filling in to be successful at the next grade level. Sometimes we call those the power standards. Critical concepts, and that's what we really need to make sure they know before they go on to the new content.
Can I just ask?
And, yes.
So do you anticipate that there could be more than 20 students? I mean, or would that be something that's, you know?
So I think we're being ambitious right now, Bonnie, with staffing.
I'm just wondering, do you think there could be more than 20 students?
So what I do think might happen is at different grade levels, and you've seen my presentations in the past where some cohorts aren't the same as other cohorts, so I think we will be looking at that also once the staffing kind of comes together. Yes?
So in non-COVID years, what kind of participation do you get in this category or this cohort? How many students? I'm assuming this year we should have a lot more kids.
Yes.
So we have a much bigger gap to make up, right?
Craig, one of the reasons we ended up not doing the elementary program anymore is we had very poor attendance. So the bang for the buck, so to speak, wasn't there. I'm hoping, I think all of us are hoping, that as this summer comes along and we have students that maybe haven't had the full year of school in person, that parents will be more anxious to have them come for the summer program. But again, we're going to have to balance that out once we start the campaign to get students to come.
And one of the things that we are doing right now is we are having at-risk meetings on a weekly basis regarding those students that teachers are concerned about, whether, typically attendance is connected with academic growth, but we are looking at not retaining students. We try, as students get older, it becomes more and more difficult and doesn't really make sense to retain them, but we struggle with wanting to make sure that kids have the foundation, the educational foundation they need to be successful in the next grade. So what we have been doing is on a weekly basis, we are meeting with teams of teachers, and oftentimes we have the parents involved in that conversation as well. So we're being pretty open and communicating with parents about, hey, these are our concerns, this is what we have seen during this time, and this is what we would like to do about it. And so we've gotten a real positive response from people. So we are creating our list as we go along. We're not just going to say, okay, let's scoop out 16 kids. We have an idea of what it is that we are looking to do and what students we think are the ones that are in the most need of this type of support.
Do we have any type of optional summer programs for kids who maybe aren't struggling but just would like to continue learning throughout the summer?
We do not have that in place at this point.
I've just noticed with my children being remote, it offers an opportunity to, I was thinking, I don't know.
For several years, we did do that program. It just, the way we're set up, that has to be a situation where it's fiscally breaks even. So we just couldn't get the numbers to make the financials work. So in that personnel for that program, we're looking at 2 teachers for each grade level. So that would be 8 to 10 per class. In addition, we want to support all the classrooms with an art teacher, a music teacher, and a physical education teacher. One thing that we are noticing with the COVID requirements, our kids are not making the gains in their motor skills, their fine and gross motor skills, especially the students that have been remote. So we want to really have those additional teachers to help support development in those areas, as well as we are looking to work with a Questar coach to support teachers and students in looking at the data and really making some good instructional decisions to fill in those gaps we're talking about. And the English language learner teachers will also be available to help in those classrooms. So the Rolling Thunder is the middle level, and that's for incoming grades 8 through 9. And this is to provide intensive targeted intervention to improve the academic skills of students who are not currently meeting the grade level standards, so that these students can be successful in the next grade level. Again, about the same class size. In addition to concentrating on ELA and math, we're going to hopefully hire a social studies and science teacher, as well as a SPED teacher to support those students, and a counselor that will be 0.5 and shared with the high school program, as well as the EL support. Summer Bridges, you're familiar with this program. We ran it a couple of years ago. It was a new startup program and that is really looking at engaging students that maybe are not as engaged in the school environment in a collaborative way. Shana was one of the teachers. I think she felt very positive, and still, I know, maintains a lot of the relationships she established with those students 2 years ago. The data is supportive of that program. We have noted that their GPAs have not only increased, they've increased fairly significantly, most of them by 5 points at least, as well as their attendance improved prior to the COVID data time period. It's hard to measure it at this point, but we were seeing positive attendance increases with that group of students. So that program really is about getting out into the community and making the connections in the community with your academics. It includes 3 teachers, 2 subject areas, and 1 encore teacher, and also has the help of the computer integration specialist, and requires some additional supplies for project-based learning, and also the funds for field trips.
What's an encore teacher?
Pardon me?
What's the encore? What's an encore teacher?
So that's art, music, any of these special areas that, yeah. And then the last one to discuss is Summer Academy, and this is high school credit recovery, and this is for students who have not completed successfully coursework in grades 9 through 12. And the objective of this is to provide direct instruction to students who have not been able to demonstrate proficiency in meeting the key power standards identified in high school coursework in order to successfully move to the next level of coursework. Again, looking at 8 to 10 students. This program will be broken into 2 blocks, so a student could work on as many as 2 credit recovery classes. We're looking at all subject areas: ELA, math, social studies, science, LOT, which is also world language, SPED, PE, health, and a 0.5 school counselor there too. And the students that need it will be supported with the TESOL teacher. That's important to remember in the sense of many of these students just need a longer amount of time to learn the content, and that's what this will provide them. They often have some of it mastered, but not completely the whole course. So this gives them the additional time to do that. So we really try to individualize it again to student need. And finally, I believe, after their budget vote decisions, that Germantown will be collaboratively joining with us for this program. So I think it would be good for our students to be able to interact with other students from another high school in this area. So we're kind of excited about bringing Germantown in, hopefully. So that's the scoop.
We get ice cream?
I would guess you're going to have a huge number of people in the Summer Bridges and Summer Academy programs that are failing or falling behind or not able to pass classes. And how are you going to hire enough staff to teach all of these different courses?
That's a good question, and we're working hard on recruiting people right now.
I was trying to keep score of how many students at the grade level. Did I understand, Sandra, that at grades 1 through 7, you were anticipating 7 groups of students, there are 7 grade levels, and at each grade level there might be 16 to 20 students?
16 to 20, so 140 max.
So 112 to 140, and the same going up to each grade level. How many total students do you anticipate being able to offer services during the summer?
That number, whatever the math is, about 20 at each grade level.
I'm sorry?
20 at each grade level.
Just 20 at each grade level throughout K, 1 through 12?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
So those are the goals. You know, if remote has taught us anything, and the potential for having kids not engaged, we need to be able to show them that they're missing a certain amount of work and try to encourage them to get here. This is not a mandatory. It's not like it prevents you, like probably when you were in school, if you didn't take summer school, then they said, well, we're going to retain you. That's not the case.
Dave, the only caveat on that is that, you know, your seniors typically don't need credit recovery.
Yes.
Because they've gotten to senior
Because
status, where you might have a senior age 9th grader that still is working on credit recovery. So it becomes a little more difficult to say that at each grade level there's.
We have 2 significant challenges. 1, getting the kids here, and 2, making sure we can staff this if they come in good number. Those are going to be significant challenges.
Right, because the target is, we're trying to get about 25% of the school population spread across the 12 grades. And then I'm assuming that equates to at least, well, no, it doesn't go exactly to 25% of the staff, but it's a good number.
It is. We, of course, will give the opportunity first to our teachers, but if Germantown comes on board, they will also post it within their district after we have enough of a chance to get it to our teachers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, now we're on to reports. Superintendent Neil Hammer.
Thank you. Okay, so the New York State School Boards Association has caught up a little bit with their education program, and some of our board members have some certificates, so I'm going to hand those out. For leadership and development training, totaling 75 points, Mr. Craig Bender, it's yours. You took the 3 courses so that you could sit here and be a board member.
Okay.
All right. Linda Lee has 150 total points, and so this is her certificate and letter. Thank you. And David, you also have 150 points, and this is your certificate and letter as well. And then we have Mrs. Alicia O'Rourke with 250 points. Her certificate, she gets a complimentary training, and she gets this nice fancy notebook. Yeah, it was a conference, correct.
I thought it was cumulative.
Sorry, Dave. All right. So I'd just like to report to the board that we have 64% of our staff vaccinated at this point. That's 202 individuals. So we're moving forward on that. We're also looking at setting up a 16-plus vaccine site. We're working with the county. And today we contacted the Capital Region Pharmacy Services. So we may be going outside the county to bring the vaccine center here. Yes?
64% vaccinated. What percent, do you have an idea of what percent is vaccinated that wanted vaccinated? Like, we may never get 100%.
Yeah, maybe I'm misunderstanding you. I just assumed people that wanted to be vaccinated would get vaccinated.
No. 64% of your total staff has been vaccinated.
Correct.
But what percent of your staff that want to get vaccinated has been vaccinated? Like some people may want to opt out.
I don't know that number.
Okay, just curious.
Okay. So we're working with the county or Capital Region Pharmacy Services, so hopefully in a week or two. I don't know if you've been reading the paper, but Pfizer, which is approved for those younger kids, they've stopped shipment to the counties and put the mass vaccination sites, and we do not have any of those in Columbia County. So another 3,500 vaccines went to Albany County. So we're trying to get that diverted a little bit. So I hope you noticed that the Conic Hills flags are being installed on the light poles. Please take a look at those if you missed those on the way in. They look very nice. We are planning at 5:30 on June 16th a small ceremony for renaming the PAC in honor of Lyle Ham. So I'll give you some more notification about that. The ballots for the Board of Education, the order in which they members would appear for voting purposes. Linda is first, was pulled out of the hat, then Bonnie Torsha and William Arp. So those 3 will be listed on the ballots in that order. Okay, I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Audit committee, Joe?
The audit committee met on March 17th to review the federal single audit, 19 and 20. It's approving tonight. There were no financial findings, but there were eligibility findings for the district. Board members also have a copy of the corrected action plan. The details of these items will be fixed for the rest of the year and next year. The final meeting of the year is on May 19th at 5:30 before the regular BOE meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, John. We have the building reports next. Do we have John Cruzing, elementary school? Stand up.
Okay, we'll keep these reports very brief. We did do the grades 3 and 4 ELA exams, state assessment today, and I'm pleased to report that the kids hung in there, worked very hard, and got through it. So next is math in May, and then science in June. We are only doing the part 1 or day 1, session 1 of these exams in ELA and math. These scores really are not going to count for a whole lot, but they are good practice for our kids and will give us some data that could be helpful. Secondly, Mary mentioned we're trying not to retain large groups of kids this year. We know a lot of kids are not where they need to be in terms of their academic growth. So the summer program is important for us, but we're also planning for next year. So you're going to see eventually, I think, we're going to come forward with some requests for additional staffing. Some of it's being funded through the CARES 2, but especially for teaching assistants. We're going to ask for another one to help us in grade 2. We're going to call this a supported class. It'll be a little bit smaller, so it'll be a teacher and a TA to really focus in on some students that are struggling, that might have been considered those to be retained in past years. Rather than retain, we're going to promote, but support. And Mary can talk to you about that. Same idea we're going to use in 5th grade. So be aware that, again, this gift of money, we've talked about this already tonight, we're going to put it to good use, and some of that will be to get some additional staffing to support students who really lost ground this year. Like that better, Neil? Lost ground? No. Who's next?
Mary. Intermediate school.
Thank you. Good evening. As John said, we are looking at creating 2 5th grade supported classrooms. We have a large 4th grade this year, and the teachers have expressed concerns throughout the entire year. I don't want to say learning loss, but that there has been some regression from last year, and we have students that are just having difficulty with gaining concepts at the same rate that a typical 4th grader would. So one of the other things that should be mentioned is these students that we are looking to put in a supported classroom are not students with disabilities, so they don't fall under the category of special education. They do not have 504s, so they don't get special accommodations. They're simply students that we are trying to prevent from falling through the cracks. And when you talk to educators, they will tell you that they can pretty much identify by 3rd grade those students who may or may not be at risk, potentially at risk as they get older. And so one of the things that we are looking to do, we've done the OG in the past in the older grades, different types of alternative programs. One of the things we're really looking to do is start at a younger age and really try to support these students and create a positive rapport with parents, and we're going to hopefully loop these kids. So they're going to start out in 5th grade with 2 teachers, and then they're going to continue into 6th grade with that same team. And again, we are looking at having one assistant for both classrooms. And we are hoping that we'll see success. I think we will see success with that. And finally, tomorrow, the 5th and 6th graders have their ELA assessment, and on Thursday, the 7th and 8th grade. And I think they're going to be just fine. As John said, it's 28 multiple choice questions. That's what we're looking at this year, because it's only session 1. So we'll see how they do. Any questions?
Can I
Yes.
just ask, why did you select 2nd and 5th grade? Is that because that class size is larger in 2nd and 5th?
So the 2nd grade, do you mind if I speak to it?
If you'd like.
Well, you spoke to mine, you gave my
You go
ending
right
away.
ahead. Go right ahead.
So the 2nd grade is a class that we've been looking at since pre-K. That was one of the reasons that we were able to talk to Neil and say, after that year, hey Neil, we really need early intervention. And he was great, and now we have a 3rd pre-K. So we were looking at students that were coming in with 0 skills. We were looking at 4-year-olds who couldn't tell you their full name. So that's where we were at. And it wasn't 1, it wasn't 2, it was many. So we've been watching this for a while, and we knew at some point we were going to have to provide some supports. And it's not necessarily fair to say, okay, this student must be classified as special education. Is that it? Or perhaps they just simply have not had those skills. And there's really only so much you can do in a day when you're trying to keep a certain pace. So a supported classroom, or maybe even consider it in your mind a grade 1.5, because they're not quite ready to go to 2nd grade yet. The 5th grade, as I mentioned, the current 4th grade has students that they are greatly concerned about. And when we looked at our numbers, we had students that really needed this additional support. And again, they don't qualify as students with disabilities or 504s. So that's why we did it, because we had the most area of need.
Because I'm just guessing that you're probably seeing this need in every grade, but I guess...
We certainly do, but this has been a larger number of students. Okay?
Okay. Next up, Jim. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing well, thanks. Just a couple things for you. I think the summer school is going to be a very important part to our program. Our students need our support now more than ever. We're working with the teachers to bring students back at the end of the year who are failing classes over the last week or 2 that might be on remote or might need that extra support to try and get them through. And then summer school is the next step for kids that don't make it through that. If they pass their core classes, they get Regents exemptions, which is really important so they don't have to take those tests again. At the same time, they just need these classes all that are going to be offered in the summer for graduation credit, which is our ultimate goal. The second part that I wanted to mention is just things are getting back to a little bit more of a normal senior year, hopefully, for some of our kids. As you can see from all the little signs spread around here on the seats, we have our National Honor Society induction indoors tomorrow. We were able to formulate a plan to do that, to honor those kids in a shortened ceremony. We have the prom coming up that our junior class advisors and students are working on. That's a little modified. It's here at school, but it gives them something that they didn't have last year. And finally, graduation looks like we're going to be able to get 500 people or possibly even more than that for it. We're going to be able to do this on a Friday night outside and take advantage of all the different options, whether it be vaccinations, rapid tests, PCR tests, other options to get multiple family members here. So things are looking up. We're moving back towards a little bit more of a normal. Thanks.
Thank you. Next up, Sandra.
I'm not going to take long because I just did the presentation, but one thing on the agenda I wanted to point out to you is that we have several grants that have been received on behalf of the FFA to purchase a floral cooler, which they are looking to do very shortly. And we're grateful for all those grants, and we're grateful to Mrs. Haggerty and Mrs. Smith for writing some of those grants. And the biggest thing I think to know about this is it's a great opportunity for students to learn life skills about forming a business and operating that business, and that CTE, that career and technical education piece. And their first project, I am told, is going to be a community service project where they're going to make these centerpieces for the prom for their juniors and seniors. They were really excited to be able to do something nice for a group of students that hasn't had the prom yet. So that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, Sandra, you did say floral cooler?
Cooler, yes. It takes a special kind of cooler to store flowers in, so they had to make a very special purchase.
Where are they going to put that?
It's probably, and I'm looking back at Nick, we've talked about inside the ag room or just outside, or maybe even in the school store area, because depending on which way it goes with their planning, we might want to have public access to.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Next up, Sybil? All right. Next up is Stella.
I would like to thank my colleagues for making sure that all of our students have a learning progression that's positive. So we talked about the 2nd and 5th graders not being classified as special education students. And what the teachers and administrators want to make sure is there's a learning progression that's getting the students from point A to point B, whether they need special education at some point to get them to the next point or whether they don't. But all of the programs that we have in place, we really hope bring the students to a better place in their grade levels and get their regents and their percentages and all their scores in a positive manner. And that's it for me.
Thanks,
I
Stella.
got a brief question.
Yes.
Special ed students very often have difficulty retaining skills over the summer. With our population and the interruption of services this year, have you seen a decline in students' abilities?
We have not. So in New York State, we have to show regression. So we have to show that data that shows over a period of time. We normally look at a longer period of a vacation to see what the student knew on the Thursday before the vacation and what they know that Monday. And I have not seen that in our students here in Taconic Hills.
You know, I guess I'm just concerned in general if they've been interrupted education, remote learning. Has that been a factor that has caused
If it's been a factor, the teachers have put it into their goals and their IEPs that they want to work on those pieces next year.
So interrupted learning may have a slightly different definition, Dave, than you're using.
Or lack of learning consistency,
Right.
the new term.
It's, next up is Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hello. So on the agenda for your approval this evening is the public health emergency plan. I had an opportunity to assist with working on the plan, and I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what it encompasses. The plan's purpose is to address items that are critical to the operation of the facility during a public health emergency. Some of those things would be to identify essential personnel. Those folks would be required to come to work to make sure that the building is operational during a public health emergency, planning on how to implement the staggering of their shifts in order to decrease the population density in the school or in the building during a public health emergency. Personal protective equipment was a big thing. We found that we had issues procuring that when the whole pandemic situation first started. So there are actually guidelines in the plan that tell us how much of PPE we have to keep in stock, how many pieces per employee, and depending on their job function, it tells us what type of PPE we have to have on hand. So that's included in the plan as well. Protocols for dealing with staff exposures, something that we've been dealing with right along, but now we have it included in our new plan. And cleaning and disinfection protocols and what increased frequencies would be required. We have that included. And documenting of working hours for individuals for contact tracing purposes. So basically, we're tying up all the things that we were very ill prepared for as a society back in March when this whole thing first started with the legislation that passed. We put the plan together, we hit all the points that they requested, and bundled it all up nice and neat for your approval this evening.
So is this plan something that you would have to do, like a recertification of the people that will be involved in implementing this plan, or, you know, like, is there going to be like professional development for the, you know, the players in this plan, or?
That's a good question. The plan doesn't specifically address any type of continuing education or training, but we always make it a point if someone has a specific role in which they play and, you know, in the plan, and if they have specific responsibilities, we take the time to train the individuals appropriately to make sure that they know what's expected of them when we implement it.
Okay. Like, I was just wondering, do you do like a, you know, like a mock thing, or, you know, just to keep their, you know?
Sure, yeah, we do all different types of things. We do tabletop exercises and things like that, so yeah, we have opportunities to perform those. Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Next up, transportation. Hey, Rick.
Good evening, how are you? We continue to add students to buses almost on a daily basis to bring our remote learners back into in-person learning. It's a challenge, but we're making our way through it. We continue to be very short on drivers. We don't have too many prospects for anybody new coming in. We have gone through most of the year short 2 or 3 drivers every day, but we're managing that as well. No signs of anybody on the horizon who's interested in driving a bus. So if any of you are interested, let me know.
What's the starting rate?
It pays better than the school board.
What's the starting rate, Rick?
Pardon me?
What's the starting rate?
Substitute is $18.50.
Okay. Just so
Yeah. Call me
What did you
later.
say, Ron?
One
leg. Bus for one leg. Bus for one leg.
And then this is our 2 very busy months, May and June. That's when all of our drivers go through their annual and biennial testing. Maybe that's why it's difficult to get a bus driver.
That's true.
But our people do very well, and I look forward to doing their testing. That's all I have.
What kind of training do you have to do to get I don't know what class license you need for a bus driver?
Class B with a P and an S endorsement, passenger and school bus endorsement. It's a written test at DMV. You have to, as of February, you'll have to take 30 hours of classroom training before you even go to take the road test. So they are making it more and more challenging to become a bus driver, more and more regulations.
And 1850 is really not a bad wage.
How does one get the 30 hours?
Somebody here sits them in a classroom and trains them.
So it's like they don't have an agency that trains people?
No, both Bobby Joe and I are SBDI school bus driver instructors, so we're capable of doing that. The way it used to be is that you would come in, do your driver training, take your road test. Once you pass the test, then you would take a 30-hour driver's course. And now they want you to take the 30-hour course before you get your license, and then after you get the license, you have to take another 30-hour course. So, but if you know of anybody that wants to drive a bus, let me know. Thank you.
Not to belabor it, but if we know anybody, is the training paid training?
The training right now is not paid, no.
I'm not suggesting it, I just want to know.
Right.
People have.
We'll have to talk about how that works once the new regulations kick up in February, but right now, if you come in to do your driver training in a bus, you don't get paid for that.
We're worried that we would give the training if they would leave.
Yeah, that's wrong. Yeah.
You have to sign something in blood, you know.
Commit to.
Exactly.
Right.
Good evening, and thank you. I'll be quick. I actually have something tonight. I got an email at 5:30, just an answer to the public forum. The web page is hosted by Blackboard Inc., and I got an email at 5:30 saying their photo gallery app is causing an issue with our web page, which links are actually disappearing. I've got a number and an email. I've already talked to them, and they're working on it, and hopefully by morning it'll be fixed. The second thing I want to discuss is KnowBe4 training. That's kind of a new, it's not new, it's been around, but we're just making faculty and staff do that so that they're aware of the open front door and cybersecurity and spam, and hope everyone takes the 17-minute course, and you'll be quizzed later on.
Oh, we have to take it?
Yes, please.
Yes.
You get email, and you guys are you're victims of catfishing, spearing, all sorts of scams. So the more you know, the better off we're going to be.
You sent me an email?
Every 4 days for the past 2 weeks.
So yes. I'll look for it. Oh, that was fun. Sorry, John. Oh, goodness. Tess.
Okay, food. Tonight in your bags you have a chickpea salad with some marinated chicken strips. We're trying to be creative with our 32 cases of chickpeas that we have. Because these were ordered last year in about January, February. I have to order for the following year. And we didn't know we were not going to have a salad bar. So we're doing chickpea salads, we're doing hummus, we're doing as much as we can to move our chickpeas. And in case we haven't heard, there's a chicken nugget shortage in the country, which throws our menu. Chicken nugget shortage. Because of a goldfish plant in Texas, whatever, is having issues. So we're trying to get creative with some other favorite meal for our elementary students.
You just said chickpea nuggets.
I don't know if that would go, but we can try. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam.
I'm nervous because 32 cases of chickpeas makes for a good start to a senior prank.
Well, that was just on Twitch.
Okay, there's no old business. So we have new business, and this is the 2021-2022 Questar election ballot and the administrative budget ballot. So I'm going to have to read each one of these separate, and I'll ask for a motion after everyone. Okay, so there's 3 incumbent nominees for 3 BOCES board positions, 3 expiring terms. So resolved that the Board of Education casts its vote for the election of Mr. Mark Mann, Rensselaer, New York, as a member of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, Rensselaer County, Columbia Green Counties. Have a motion, please. Joe, second. Linda, all in favor of Mr. Mann? Okay, is that everyone? Okay. Now I have next is, oh, Ron, did you say yay? Okay. Next up is that the Board of Education casts its vote for the election of Ms. Mary, what's that name?
Mary Giroux.
Okay, thank you. Troy, New York, as a member of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, Rensselaer, Columbia Green Counties. Have a motion, please. Motion. Linda, second. Joe, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Next up, be it resolved that the Board of Education casts its vote for the election of Mr. Frank Swack, Steventown, New York, as a member of the Board of Cooperative Educational Services, Rensselaer, Columbia Green Counties. Can I have a motion, please? Alicia, second. Heidi, all in favor? Okay, thank you. The administrative budget for their 2021-2022 fiscal year. Be it resolved the Board of Cooperative Educational Services of Rensselaer, Columbia, and Green Counties is authorized to expend the sum set forth in the 2021-22 tentative administrative budget document in the amount of $6,710,997. Can I have a motion, please? Dave, second. Joe, all in favor? Huh? Is it the same as last year? No.
Very close.
Oh, it's very close. Wow, how did you remember? I'm sorry, was there any questions on that? I'm sorry, on that budget? Okay, all in favor? I'm never gonna hear the end of this, am I? I know. Okay. So now we have some the resolution. So I'm not gonna read all that, so this is, I need a motion for the resolution to approve the public health emergency plan that Nick was talking about earlier. Can I have a motion, please? Linda, second. Terry, any questions on that?
Just a question.
Yep.
In the plan, it said superintendent or their designee will administer the plan. So, is that you or is that?
Typically it's me.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, next up, we have the approval of the revised 2020-2021 district calendar and Board of Education meeting dates for 2020-2021 school year. Can I have a motion, please? Motion, Joe, second. Alicia, any questions on that? What did we change? What date?
I was just gonna ask.
I'm not.
I think it was the inclusion of the modified readings exam date.
Okay.
Yes,
What was that?
correct.
Modified
So,
regions.
The modified region schedule from the end of this year.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? Okay. The adoption of the 2021-2022 district calendar and tentative Board of Education meeting dates for the 2021-2022 school year. Can I have a motion, please? Dave, second. Heidi, any questions on that calendar?
Where are those dates? Attached.
They were in our attachments, yeah.
I didn't see them.
In our board packet that they emailed us.
Okay.
All in favor? Okay. Now we have the approval of the 2021-2022 payroll schedule. Can I have a motion, please? Joe, second. Linda, any questions on that? All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, now the acceptance of the independent auditor's report on the Taconic Hill Central School District compliance with the U.S. Office of Management and Budget. The federal program regulations completed by Secretary Torsia Allen Churchill for the 2019-2020 fiscal year, and that's a little green booklet that's on the table in front of you. Can I have a motion, please? Linda, second. For Joe. Heidi. Felicia, I'm sorry. Any questions on that audit?
We just got it now, right? So, we get a chance to look at it?
Yeah, but we got this report from him, right?
Okay.
I didn't hear the question.
So this is the final then?
Yes, there were no changes, Terry, from the audit committee meeting.
Okay, yeah, because I was at it, okay.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to lump G, H, and I. They're all the grants. So we have a grant from Cornell University for the New York Agricultural Education Incentive Grant for growing programs. We have the acceptance of grants from the Taconic Hills Arts and Humanities Funds to support the Taconic Hills FFA purchase of the flower cooler. And we have acceptance of grant proceeds from the Taconic Hills Education Fund to support the Taconic Hills FFA purchase of a flower. Oh, we got that twice. Oh, there's two flower coolers?
There seem to be lots of flower coolers.
It's the same thing.
Oh, three flower coolers. Oh, so it's the same. Oh, it's the
You're
same
combining
flower
them,
cooler.
right?
Okay. All right, so it's just different money. All right, so let me, I did say who they were from, correct? Yes. Okay, so can I have a motion, please? Dave, second. Linda. Okay, any questions? All in favor? Thank you. You all right? All right. So we have some more donations. So we have music supplies from Dale Hoffman of Cornet. And then I have $850 from Taconic Hills FFA chapter for the purchase of a floor cooler. All right, so can I have a motion, please, for those two donations? Dave, second. Joe? All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
I just wanted to give you a credit for you coordinating 4 different
Yeah.
donations, and I just think that's great that so many groups,
Thank
you know, want to support that.
Thank you.
All in favor?
I'm assuming they're all going to get a bouquet.
Yes, they should. Okay, we have K, approval of the hourly rate of pay of $16.50 per hour for the clerical primary inspectors for the annual district election on May 18, 2021, from 12 noon to 9 p.m. Could I have a motion, please? Motion? Joe, second. Dave? All right. Any questions on that? All in favor? Okay.
Remember the inspectors are?
It's in the,
Authorization of disposal of various textbooks. Can I have a motion, please? Alicia, second. Heidi. Any questions on this? All in favor? Thank you. All right, so now we have the approval of the memorandum of agreement between Taconic Hills Central School District and the Taconic Hills Support Staff Association dated March 24th, 2021, and authorization for the superintendent of schools to execute the agreement. Can I have a motion, please? Dave, second. Alicia, any questions? All in favor? Okay. We have N, approval of the Taconic Hills Central School District contract for health and welfare services and per pupil rate of $695.36 for resident students attending non-public schools and other school districts for the 2020-2021 school year. Can I have a motion, please? Motion? Terry, second. Alicia, any questions on that?
yeah, could you explain what that is?
It's kind of complicated. So we wanna-
That was one of my questions when we were
Pupil
two.
rate per what?
So this is the charge for our district resident students who attend private schools in other districts. We may provide nursing services to those students, so we're able to charge back to the districts. I think this year, we have to wait until almost the end of the year to do it because we have to rely on a full year's worth of attendance. It's about $90,000 worth of billing this year.
Right, but it's
So,
pupil
who do we
rate
bill?
of $695 per what?
I'm
Per student,
sorry.
per student.
Per student?
Yes, so per year.
Per year.
Right, right. And the rate changes every year because it's based on our nursing and pupil personnel staff and the costs of their salaries and benefits.
Dave has.
So who are we billing?
A range of school districts.
Oh, the other schools?
Right, right,
Okay.
yes. So most of these students attend Hawthorne Valley, which is in our district.
Okay. All in favor? All right, so now we have the general construction contract. I'm not going to read all that, obviously, you can see that in front of you. So I need a motion for the approval of that bid award. Motion? Joe, second. Dave, any questions? All in favor? Okay. So next up is the Board of Education to adopt the following textbooks that we had our presentation on 2 weeks ago. So I need a motion to accept those textbooks. Heidi, second. Alicia, any questions?
Is there a dollar total for this?
The coursework was presented at the,
Yeah, they gave it to us at the
at the
presentation.
workshop. I don't recall the exact.
Yeah, I don't remember either, Dave.
Well, she's got it here.
Oh, yeah, right here.
Right here.
So you have science textbooks at 100,000, social studies at 90,000. You have some art, history of the world art textbook, 2,500. Those are so far. And there may be a couple others on there that are not listed.
Yeah, I just, not everyone on board was here for the presentation. I really just wanted to acknowledge that the teachers that investigated and researched the books and tried them, and the presentation was incredibly informative.
Yeah, they did a great job.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Accolades.
All in favor of the textbooks?
Just want to be reminded. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now on to the approval of Taconic Hill Central School District's property tax report card for 2021-2022 school year. Approval of the 2021-2022 tax levy at 0% for the total levy of $25,197. Wait, 190. I can't say it. $197,610. Oh my lord. Can I have a motion, please? Joe. Heidi. Okay. Any questions on that? All in favor? Thank you, Ron.
With no recourse. You might have to propose.
He had aye, that's why I said thank you. I said thank you.
I did.
Oh, Terry, I'm sorry, I can't ever see you.
That's okay.
Joe's blocking you. You were,
I did not.
so, okay, so, no?
Correct.
Okay. So, 8. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Craig.
I know, I can't see where Joe blocks you.
That's okay.
Want to make sure your voice is heard.
Thank you. All right, next up, we have the approval of the propositions. Okay, following propositions, we have 2021-2022 budget. Shall the Board of Education of Taconic Hill Central School District be authorized to expend the sum set forth in the budget for the 2021-2022 school year in the amount of $38,956,006, and to levy the necessary tax therefore? Can I have a motion, please? Motion? Dave? I saw your hand go up a little bit. Second? Joe? Okay, any questions on that? All in favor? Okay, so, and opposed?
I'm gonna go with this piece of it.
You're in favor?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
I can do that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It was the same amount on either one. That dollar figure didn't change.
Right. But it's
Right,
just,
roll
it's just a matter of the difference between wanting 0%.
Right.
Right, correct?
Yes.
Is my interpretation? Okay.
Okay. So now the election of a board member to elect 2 members of the Board of Education for 2 5-year terms commencing on July 1st, 2020, and expiring on June 30th, 2025, to succeed Linda Lee and Bonnie Torsha. Can I have a motion, please? Joe, second. Dave, any questions? All in favor? Okay. All right, the purchase of school buses. Shall the Board of Education be authorized to acquire 2 full-size buses at a maximum aggregate cost of $254,000 and expend such sums for such purpose from the 2020-2021 unallocated fund balance? Can I have a motion? Dave, second. Heidi, any questions?
Just wanted to make sure I clarify and understand. This is separate from the total budget. If this is approved, the budget purchase, it doesn't affect the total budget.
It's on the ballot.
It comes from the balance, fund balance.
It says, in other words, this is included in the budget before it's proposed.
Yes, but the revenue is coming from unappropriated fund balance. The revenue paid for it.
Oh, it's in
The cap.
the, okay.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. Why do they vote on the buses?
Because it's considered a capital purchase. They're paid for from the capital fund.
Which is how much in amount approximately?
Well, we will transfer the money to pay for these buses from the general fund to the capital fund to pay for these. So it's really almost like a checking account. It's just a flow through.
Any more questions on that? All right, all in favor?
Yes, by buses.
All right, so next is the creation of the capital reserve. Shall the Board of Education be authorized to establish a reserve fund to be known as the Capital Reserve Fund Number 2, effective July 1st, 2021, the purpose of which is to finance the cost of capital improvements, which include general improvements to school property, including but not limited to construction, reconstruction, renovations, or additions to the district's buildings, including site work and the acquisition of original furnishings, computers, equipment, machinery, technology, or apparatus required for the purpose for which such buildings are to be used, and 2, commencing with the 2021-2022 school year, fund the capital reserve fund number 2, up to $5 million from the unallocated fund balance, and the probable duration of such fund being 10 years. Whew. Can I have a motion, please? Joe, second. Delisha, any questions on that?
Here's the
You have a
one.
question? Okay.
Oh, do you want to go? Are we at zero now, Kathleen?
Yes, it will be a brand new reserve.
And what kind of capital projects do we envision down the road that we would use for?
We're waiting for our architect firm to see a design. We'll be doing a 5-year study every 5 years. So I guess I don't feel comfortable saying some of the things that we're thinking about without having consulted with them. Unless, Nick, you feel comfortable with that's the things?
The thing is that every so often we go through a building condition, they walk, they go through the building and see what needs to be done.
That's exactly what it's called, building conditions.
Correct. So that's, I don't know, it's every 5 years, is
Yes.
it, that we do this? So then, based on that, we decide to have a capital project. So unfortunately, like I explained at the budget committee meeting with Linda was there and Alicia, is that unfortunately the American way is you need to owe money. It's just the way that it is. And it's beneficial for us to have debt. So that's why we do capital projects, to improve the school, and you carry debt. It's just, it is what it is.
I understand that we get certain.
But we don't
money
want,
back from
what,
the
putting this
state.
$5 million in there is so that when this capital project happens, we're not gonna pass the cost off onto the taxpayer. That's the whole purpose of this reserve fund, is so that when that capital project happens, taxpayers aren't gonna pay for it.
I mean, I can give you some of my opinion.
I'm just curious,
Okay, so we have some masonry issues happening, in which we have some sills, windows. One is out front of the elementary. It's been that way for a couple of years. If you want, on your way out, you look at the bottom of the masonry over here. It's starting to deteriorate on the wall. We have a problem with some leaky windows. I'm concerned about those. We have some problems with some doors that have outlived their usefulness. We're talking about seals, we're talking about caulking, and those are the things that I would be asking for them to take a specific look at. So I can see in 5 years, a window replacement and door replacement as being a large part of this.
And do we have to go back to the voters for the specific projects?
Yes, there will be
We have to
extensive.
bring the capital project to them.
Yes, there will be extensive communication.
Yes.
With the public.
I don't think you were on the board, right before you got on, I think we had done that. I mean, it was quite, I think it was the year that you were
There were
elected,
two,
correct?
there were two.
Yeah.
There was the major capital project that we're in,
Yes.
and then there was, I'm not sure what the title was,
Well, we have the air conditioning, and we had flooring, and then we were upgrading some of our heating systems. We were doing a lot of those.
which is the one that passed, and the one that didn't pass was.
Oh, was the
Football
field. Correct. That's the year that Dave had gotten on the board that we had our last meeting. So, but Sybil's right, we go through a whole bunch of, you know, a lot of meetings with the public, and it's.
I guess I'd like to make a suggestion. It's just a suggestion that since this does not increase taxes in any way, it may not be obvious to the voter when they're saying yes to something like this. Oh, we have to pay another $5 million? Well, no. And somehow.
That's why we're the stewards for that.
We always treat them.
Well, some information on the ballot, perhaps, that would state that this is shifting funds from the general fund to the capital fund.
For future capital projects.
Does not,
we can do that.
Does not increase taxes in any way.
Okay.
Well, I don't think we need to do it on the ballot, but as part of the
public
publicizing the vote, we can explain it in the Titan Herald when we talk about the proposition.
And at the public hearing too, we do have a public hearing as well.
But I also have concern about why we're creating a capital fund now when we don't yet have a plan what we're spending it on. I don't see why we don't wait until we actually have a plan, instead of having people vote now to create a capital reserve and then come back to them and say, okay, now will you vote on our spending the capital reserve on repairing the windowsills? It seems to me to make much more sense to say, we now need $5 million to repair the windowsills and so, and we'd like you to approve moving $5 million from this fund, not going to cost you anything, to a capital reserve fund to do this. Instead of making it 2 steps, it seems to me, it's like the camel's nose under the tent, and then the camel's in the tent, and it's like, okay.
It's actually letting the public know that we're thinking down the road and planning ahead. I see your point, Linda, but anything we can let people know ahead of time, I think they feel more comfortable about.
Is there any financial benefit to having the money in a capital reserve fund?
I think that there's a perception that if it's left in the general fund, that it can be used in a different way.
Yes,
And
correct.
we'd rather take that choice away now, or I would, as I sit in this position, in planning for the future, so that possibly the next superintendent does not decide to influence the board to use it differently.
Don't you legally
Very well
have to,
stated.
don't you legally have to, you know, designate a reserve fund for a specific purpose? If you have certain surpluses or whatever, I mean,
Not necessarily, to Linda's point, but Sybil, I'm sure you have an opinion on this.
Well, even if we didn't do it now, Linda, we waited until we had a full plan, it would still need to be done into proposition for the voter.
Oh, so they would still have to create it and then.
Yeah.
Voting what the fund would be used for.
You still can't do it at the same time, if that's what you were suggesting.
I see. But at least then they know what the fund was for.
We followed the same protocol when we started to design the 2018 capital project. It took a number of years to be headed for that. But we did, start a capital reserve at that time. Started to think about it. We're just using the same.
I guess I just know as a voter, I would think, well, why am I voting to create a capital fund? I don't know what it's for.
For me, as a taxpayer, I would see it as a savings account for future projects. That's how I would look at it as a taxpayer and say, oh, they're saving money for a future project. That's how I would see it.
Well, they're not saving money, they're just moving money from one place to another.
They're putting it into a savings account for specific.
It's already in a savings account.
Well, no, it's in a different, it's a general fund.
It's in a general fund, it's a different designation.
Right.
Well, what projects might be done at some point, there may be discussion on that. But right now, we are in this position where we have a large undesignated reserve fund, which far exceeds the state suggested amount. And it's a reasonable thing to put money aside, knowing in any facility this size, you do have repairs. It's mandated that we have the building survey every 5 years. And I know every homeowner put a nest egg aside for those repairs that are inevitable, that roof that's supposed to have a 20-year warranty, but somehow only lasted 15. We're in a unique position, budget-wise, and with this, to be able to establish a fund like this. Many districts are in the position where their buildings have their 5-year review, and then they're faced with a huge potential cost for things that have to be done, because if you don't fix the facilities, it's more costly. So it's really, for me, I think it's a very prudent thing to be prepared for.
But we'd still have to wait till the next election to be able to spend the money on something.
Or even further in the future.
I'm sorry?
Even further in the future, this resolution speaks to an anticipated window for a maximum of 10 years.
Yes, it's 10 years, yeah.
I read that correctly?
Yes.
It's not necessarily a one-year project. I don't know how long the I don't know when the building survey is supposed to start, and I don't know how long it will take. But whatever the results of those, usually take quite a bit of time to get the ball rolling and planning.
Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor? Ron, you still there? Ron?
He fell asleep.
Ron? Okay. Yeah, I know. Public forum, is there another public forum?
No, there's not.
Okay. Do we have any additional items to discuss? Neil, you have anything?
Yes. I was wondering if the board wanted to have a meet the candidate night, and like we have in years past. I don't know how the board feels. Pardon me?
We know 2 of the candidates.
You do know 2 of the candidates, but the public would not. I guess it's your call. And what date would you like to have that, if in fact you wanted to do that?
I don't know either. If we do it, I'd like it to be early May or end of April.
Okay.
That's my only idea.
I gotta look at my calendar.
I know when I did it,
I got crazy stuff.
nobody showed up.
I know.
We had 3,
Nobody cares.
well, I mean, you were there, but we had like 3 people.
Well, we're doing it in person, we're no Zooming, it's gonna be in person.
I was going to say just the opposite. Zooming might be more effective for people.
I'm like so over Zoom at this point.
Yeah.
I'm zoomed out. So, yeah, I'll get back to you. I don't know.
All right, so
next week's probably not good.
If you have dates that are on the table, folks, or not on the table, you can email me and I will try to coordinate the responses.
I'll do that. Let me write that down.
Yeah, if you want.
Okay, so we're going into executive session now to talk about contract negotiations. Can I have a motion, please? Joe, second. Heidi. All right, everyone, thank you.
We have a vote.
All in favor?